A great afternoon to you out there. It is Nigerian Now on Echo Television International. Today being the 20th of November 2023, your afternoon show, where we keep you updated with some of the happenings that have been happening in Nigeria. And we think it's very important that we bring it over here to the show and also let you have an opportunity to also air your views by joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube. And then drop your comment, your own views on what you think about any of the issues or matter we will be bringing to the table this afternoon. I am Sela Elisha Dash, and I'll be doing the program together with Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon,
Afternoon,
Rachel.
Sela.
All right, let us get the ball rolling right away. We will recall that yesterday the appeal court removed, or you can call it sack, the governor of Plateau State, the person of Caleb Mutfwang. After the back and forth, of course, a lot of people with followers and protesters, with security being quite tight in the state yesterday, we saw that the appeal court gave their judgment. Now we will record that the election took place just like every other 28 state on the 18th of March, and where we saw that the PDP candidate, that's talking about Caleb Mutfwang, had the highest vote. He had about over 500 and something votes. That's talking about those who actually registered. And then we saw that the opposition party then, which was APC, talking about Nantawi, had a little over 400,000 votes.
Yes.
Now we are seeing that another new, another new case, or you could say evidence, was being brought to the court, or this was something that people felt was more of a pre-election matter rather than a post-election matter. And it was brought initially in the High Court here in the state, where we saw that they were actually being reaffirmed. The governor was being given that he actually rightfully, was being the winner of that election. And then we saw that the APC were not satisfied, and so they appealed for it in the appeal court. And then yesterday, we saw that the appeal court gave the judgment in favor of the APC, and a lot of jubilation, happiness, and of course, what do you expect when what you have been fighting for a long period of time, finally you've got it? But there have been quite a number of other people with different school of thought.
Yes, certainly.
Where, just like I said earlier, other people felt that this is supposed to be a case that should be brought before election. But we're seeing that appeal court said that both pre-election and post-election, this is something. And one of the things was the issue of structure, where they said that Caleb actually was not rightfully sponsored by the party that's talking about the PDP. And so a lot of people are saying, what is the structure in the first place? Because a lot of people felt that this is the mandate of the people. The people actually went to the polling unit, put down their vote, and what they wanted was what they got. So why are we not having it looking more like the court is actually giving the people what they want, not what the people want? So these are kind of different school of thought, and everybody's having what they want to say about what the appeal court did, because we're seeing that in less than 4 days, the appeal court have sacked about 3 governors. We had that of Zamfara State, we have that of Kano State, and then Caleb Mutfwang actually was the third person yesterday. So Rachel, with all of this, quite a number of things on our minds, and then you ask question, did INEC do what they're supposed to do? Did it setting criteria? I mean, were all of this things not being checked? Why are we having all of this thing coming up now when we are supposed to be focusing on governance and not politics again?
I mean, Sarah, just as you said, did INEC do their work? Because as far as I'm concerned, this is one thing that the appeal court is not even supposed to accept in the first place. We've seen where the appeal court, some cases, the election petitions were taken to the appeal court and they dismissed it. I believe this is one peculiar one that should have been dismissed also in the first place, because the reason is clearly out there that this is a pre-election issue. And the people solely responsible for this is INEC with their Electoral Act. And I believe that is not in the place of the judiciary to decide on this matter, because as far as we are concerned, if INEC allowed it, then they allowed it because they saw that what was seen as a structure to them based on their electoral law, the PDP passed for that structure, because INEC still conducted election, allowing this party to run, having them listed on the ballot paper and all of that, meaning as far as INEC is concerned, this party meets their criteria. Exactly, meets their criteria, exactly, because they are the ones with the responsibility of saying a party has a structure or not. It's not for the judiciary to pass a ruling concerning whether a party has structure or not, because it is the responsibility of the Independent Electoral Commission of the country to decide. They approve these parties, they collect their registration money for gubernatorial elections and presidential election tickets, party tickets, and all of that. There are all of these things that go on. You allowed it. You sat down because INEC is in charge from the beginning of every electoral process, starting from the primary levels. Even if, when we lament concerning certain fees and all of that, INEC allowed it because they are okay with it. So if INEC is able to allow certain things, then it is not for the court to decide what INEC have allowed or not, because INEC is also independent to be able to say, okay, this is what we can allow to pass and all of that, and they did. So how is it an issue if INEC didn't make an issue out of it? Because a lot of things we saw in the tribunal was what INEC said was not an issue passed. When INEC came out and said 25% Abuja is not that important, the court went with it because INEC said so, according to their electoral law. When INEC said it was not a must for them to remit, to put the on IREF, the court said it went like it. So the same way, if INEC permitted PDP to run at Plateau State level, seeing that they had the structure, they had their primary, and they went, who are you at the judiciary to come and say they don't ought to allow the opposition to bring such a petition that should be dismissed in the first place? And they kept, and I believe they kept on going. One of the major things was that they didn't have, he wasn't nominated under the party and wasn't sponsored on that. Exactly. This is very contradictory. Do you know why, Sele? Because I believe every party is guilty of, when it comes to sponsorship specifically, because there is a criteria that INEC says a party cannot spend more than that. It means that parties have been getting sponsorship even outside party to be able to get that kind of, it's not money within the party that have run elections campaign for parties. If we're going to look at that, we saw how much the APC spent for their elections. We saw how much the PDP, the Labour Party, and you can tell that this is what they generated and this is what they spent. And nobody, INEC didn't question, where did you get your money from, where it was allowed. And this is one offense we talked about with Hammer during the election. So who is not guilty of, of cumbersome sponsorship? We can point hands on every party regarding sponsorship when it comes to campaign, because there's never a clearly stated way how they got sponsored in the first place. So I believe that this is one, for me, my stance is this is one of those petitions that would have been dismissed in the first place, because if INEC allowed it, then it means PDP did not go against their electoral laws.
You know, Rachel, while you were talking, I mean, my concern more is, okay, yes, just like you rightly stated, I mean, if INEC have actually permitted certain things to go while we have in the court, of course, another person will come up with the fact that, I mean, the court is started with the responsibility of interpreting certain laws. So, of course, you're expecting the court to either decide whether this should be a pre-election matter or a post-election matter. But then let us get deeper into it. Right now, all of these things, we're seeing that parties looking like more like APCs out of witch hunting them, because we're seeing that the PDP have been kicked in Zamfara. You know, also, we're seeing when you talk about Sokoto, that is between the NNPP and the PDP. And already we're beginning to see these parties feeling more like the APC want to turn Nigeria to a one-party system. Of course, you and I talked about initially when we had that of Atiku, when he said other parties should come together, smaller parties should come merge together so they could actually fight opposition party. And we said it shouldn't be about fighting, but it should be about, maybe you want to actually bring about good governance in the country. That is why you want the merging. And I'm more concerned about, I mean, naysayers everywhere, hate speech flying on social media. I mean, Rachel, if you were on social media yesterday, you will be tempted to maybe close down your account and have another new account, because different hate speeches were actually flying. And I remember I, for one, have always been an advocate for peace. I keep saying the fact that let our patriotism go beyond our political parties. Because beyond these political parties, you have a life. Before you join politics, you have a life. So why now allow all of these political parties to actually direct you on what to say, how to be, and how to do various things? Of course, you might be of the school of thought feeling the fact that the court was not fair, the court was fair. However, whichever you choose to be, but then it shouldn't be at the detriment of actually spoiling somebody's or sabotaging somebody's image because you feel you want to defend your own party. So I think I am of that opinion that regardless of what it is, I mean, we've seen that Caleb have appealed to the Supreme Court. He have called on his supporters, he have called on people who are his faithfuls to actually remain calm. Do not create any chaos. I mean, even in the state, he had to come out to debug where there was a banner that was, we had about 3 people where they say, we know the haters of Plateau State, and then he came out to kick against that. He said, those who are behind that should bring down that thing. He knows nothing about that now. These are people that regardless of which party, we would love to have leaders that are calling people to order, not people who are instigating violence and all manner of things, all because they do not win. So regardless of who wins, of course, with the lawmakers, we saw the lot of shaking of our lawmakers that have been sacked. So we are just hoping that Nigerians will remain calm, Plateau citizens will remain calm, the indigenous, regardless of who you are following or who you are supporting. It should be beyond the party. It should be about we want to come together as a united Plateau, so that we can fight whatever evil it is that is happening. I mean, looking at all that have happened to the state, I think this should be a time where every citizen, every indigenous of Plateau State should come together and see how can we put our hands together to build the state, and not just about all of this thing. Of course, a lot of people will not be happy that the mandate of the people have been handed over to the court. I mean, in the morning, you and I said, we heard where people are even saying, maybe if this is what the court wants, a lot of Nigerians will no longer go to the polling unit. Let's just allow the court to do that. But that is not the right spirit. You have a, like, what will I call it? You have a right, you have a duty to your state, you have a duty to your country to go out there and vote. So our fingers will be crossed because he's still the governor of the state. So let us see how it's going to be with the Supreme Court. Now, Rachel, still looking at the fact that INEC is supposed to be independent. INEC is supposed to be non-partisan. INEC is supposed to stand for integrity, transparency, and all of that. Now we are seeing that SERAP and other about 54 groups have come out to sue the president. We will recall that on the 25th of October, the president gave the go-ahead for screening of about 10 REX members who will serve for about 5 years each. And then we're seeing that out of those people, about 3, according to the group, that SERAP and others felt that these 3 are APC loyalists. And they are not supposed to be. Because if you really want to give a right judgment, if you really want to conduct a fair election, then you are supposed to be a non-partisan member. That is to show you are not loyal to any political party. You don't come out to say anything about any political party. But here we're saying the reverse is the case right here. And that is why SERAP and other groups have felt that they need to sue the president. Because we saw that, I mean, talking about screening, after he gave the go-ahead, we saw even Nigerian Senate screening these people. And it's expected that you are supposed to have done your background check about all of the people. You remember we talked about that during the nomination of the ministers, where we saw certain ministers did not pass the test. And these are things that they should have checked before we had those ministers being screened. But then we saw that we got to know some things during that time. Now, what do we say about certain appointments that we have when we are supposed to be having people who will serve, people who will be independent and will not actually choose side, especially when it comes to election? We know how important election is, not just in Nigeria, but in any part of the country. And here we're seeing issues like this coming up.
You know, my challenge, Seller, is that every time we see SERAP or any other body suing the federal government, little or nothing is being done about it. But this is one I believe they shouldn't sleep on it whatsoever, because this appointment for REX are people that they have identified them as people who have been a part of one party. And that is one, I think the one that is on everybody's radar is that of the former chief of staff of the current Senate President, that's Godswill Akpabio, when he was the governor at Akwa Ibom, and then his chief of staff was at the PDP, and then he decamped to the APC, and now he is part of these people that have been nominated. So I believe that it's not just out of the blue. You know, there are things that people will just speculate and just say, this time around, people know that these nominees are not, they are partisan in a lot of ways, and all of that. They do have a party. They come from a place. Some have been actively in politics, still active in the politics, have decamped from one party to another, have identified themselves as part of a party, and in no way whatsoever should INEC allow that. If it has come to the eye of the people, they shouldn't allow it in any way. And this is one of those things that I believe that nobody should sleep on. Serap shouldn't sleep on it until they see the end of it, until these people in specific, if there's anybody that have ever been in politics, be it in whatsoever party, PDP, APC, Labour Party, APGA, NNPP, any of these nominated candidates that have participated at any form, at whatever period of time in party, shouldn't be part of it, because we don't want sentiment in our electoral system, because we're already seeing the cases where the past off-cycle elections that took place in November 11, a lot of eyebrows were being raised because of the outcome of elections, of somebody winning in the whole local government. Then you begin to see that, okay, perhaps this is what INEC have been doing. INEC have been allowing party members to be their commissioners. Yeah, exactly. In the states, if not, this is the only best explanation to what is happening concerning election. And before you know it, we will start feeling the same concerning our judiciary, because it feels like everything is now moving to one party, and then you wonder, are the judiciary part of a party also? Because some of the verdicts seem fair, and a lot don't feel fair. Nigerians are feeling betrayed on so many levels, the same way Nigerians are feeling betrayed by INEC. And then to see this happening, it only proves that our affairs are correct concerning certain things. So this is what nobody should sleep on it. And I believe we'll be here, Sele, to keep laying emphasis on the fact that, you know what, something like this came up, and what is the process so far, wherever time of the year have these nominees been taken out from the screening, or did the Senate go about it like that, or are Serap still on the case, or have it been swept under the carpet like most other things? Because we can't allow that. We need some sanity in the country. And first of all, it's for Nigerians to know that for some reason we can still trust in INEC, because after every 4 years, our hope is that we can be able to vote in a better leader, is that we can be able to put in people that will take Nigeria to the next level. So imagine when you come with a defeated mindset, Sele, that you know that regardless of what you do, INEC won't deliver your mandate, because the regs that are in positions already have a party. So I believe that this is one of those things that nobody should smile about it. It should be out there until things are done properly.
Rachel, you would trust us as a watchdog to keep track,
exactly,
to be sure that Supreme Court will take up this case seriously. Just like you said, this is not the first case we're seeing that Serap sue. In fact, it started from even the past administration.
Yes.
We've heard so many cases, you know, Serap suing, and then yet nothing came out of it. So just like you said, this should be one of the cases that should be followed up, even though a date has not yet been set for the hearing. But I believe that Nigerians are putting their hope, even though the hope might be very little, but Nigerians still have a hope in the, you know, the judicial system, that they will do some. Just like you raised one of the concerns Nigerians are having, it looks more like the judiciary have been bought. It seems as if they do not know they are supposed to be independent. That is what it seems. But we are hoping that our judicial system will prove Nigerians wrong by actually taking up this case. And if it is valid, they should look into it. And for those people who are partisan, they should drop down, and then let us have people who are non-partisan. Just like we said, this is about the integrity of that body. And then imagine when a lot of Nigerians are losing hope in INEC, then where is the hope of the man? When you can have no hope in INEC, you have no hope in the judicial system. So where is your hope right now? So we are hoping that with all of these things, that truly the Supreme Court will take this case serious, because I believe that Nigerians want to see what will come out. And as the watchdogs, they should trust us. We are going to bring
We
them
will.
all of the updates
Yes.
and all of this. Well,
True.
Rachel, I think we have to draw the curtain here. Thank you so much for
You're
doing this
welcome,
program with
Sally.
me. And thank you also to our supporters and our viewers for keeping it with us on Nigeria Now. Until we come again, do have a blessed day ahead.